everyone. I feel very pressured to be the first person and to keep to time. So I am Lindsay Randall, and I am an SLC 6A1 mum. I'm a paediatric nurse in the UK, and I founded SLC 6A1 Connect UK -AQ, which is our first quest where we started our journey. Which button? The clicker doesn't work. There's no keyboard. Go back. That arrow or the middle? Okay. Somewhere over the rainbow, we'll find a magic formula to cure SLC 6A1 and end the suffering together, everyone in this room. And I want to share with you today a familiar story with a twist, our family's journey along the yellow brick road. In 2016, we had a new home and a beautiful new baby boy, and we were immensely happy. And then came startle seizures. Arthur was so little, and he was doing really exaggerated, strange, spiky startles, but they weren't to anything. And I'm a paediatric nurse, and at the time I worked on a ward surrounded by kids with rare forms of epilepsy, and I saw these movements as seizures. I reported them to the healthcare professionals, and they were dismissed as normal infantile startles. And I knew I was somewhere on the tightrope between being really in tune with what I was seeing or being really paranoid, because I see it all the time. But then he grew and it changed, and he started staring, blinking, falling as he was getting a bit bigger. And we couldn't see his eyes most of the time. He was blinking so much. And it wasn't just me. Friends and family would comment on the blinking a lot, often saying that he was tired when he wasn't. It had a really floppy tone, like he never held his weight. Even when we pick him up now, he doesn't pull his legs up, he doesn't hold his body weight. But my concerns were always dismissed, and his behaviours were normalised by the healthcare professionals. And we were actually referred to ophthalmology, which we had to wait a long time for the staring and the blinking and the falling. But we knew his eyesight was fine. Like, he could spot his dummy 2 rooms away, and that we knew that his eyesight was fine. And what about his tone? You know, no one was talking about his tone. Then came a critical point in our story. So in 2018, after 18 months of reporting concerns, a 20-minute EEG between Christmas and New Year was confirmed his epilepsy. And there was a whole mix of emotions, from being relieved to having the answer, to being upset and angry, and really frustrated at having been dismissed for so long. But it wasn't the whole picture. And being under 2, his bloods were sent off for a genetic epilepsy panel. And 6 months later, a tornado ripped through our lives. A phone call to tell me my baby had a rare disease called SLC 6A1. And I couldn't believe my ears, like the unfairness of it, the irony of it. I work every day with kids with complex needs and rare diseases, and now it was happening to me. There were no answers, there was no research, there were no treatments, there was no roadmap. And our questions and our concerns were unanswered, and we were on our own. What did exist was a Facebook group, and that was a really small group back in 2018. Oh, I think it skipped some. Can you go back to? One more. Yeah. We quickly formed meaningful bonds with some of the newly diagnosed families from halfway around the world. And of course, there was Amber, already a force, and I thought, I like this woman. She inspires me, and we had some calls. I started building Arthur's Quest as Amber had newly formed SLC 6A1 Connect. And at the time, we had our parental genetics back, and they were negative. So like many others in the room, Arthur was classed as de novo. We welcomed our daughter Eden to the world in October 2019. And after a beautiful few months of maternity leave and pulling the charity together, the news started breaking about coronavirus. And, well, we all know what happened there. Eden was developing well. And after a lot of trial and error with Arthur's medication, a trio of drugs mostly controlled his epilepsy. But lightning can you go back one, please? Go back two. Lightning can and will and does strike twice against all the odds. And just before Eden's first birthday, she started blinking. And just like Arthur had, we knew it, but we didn't want to accept it, and I would beg her not to have it. But again, the comments started coming that she was blinking a lot and it looked just like Eden, so we had to concede. One on. We were in a spin and our lives were upside down, and Eden was diagnosed with epilepsy after a 24-hour EEG showing over 100 seizures, and then with SLC 6A1. And our home became like a small pharmacy with the amount of drugs that we have controlling their seizures to a clinically acceptable level. And now our lives are super complicated. They're busy, they're challenging, we're both working full-time and we're caring for the children. And I needed to find some time and energy for the charity and for the work and to find answers to help the children. But I can't do it alone. And this yellow brick road with its twists and turns is difficult to navigate, and that's where you all come in. To reach the end of the yellow brick road, we need friends from every direction. We need supporters who are strong and brave and intelligent and compassionate, determined, collaborative, knowledgeable, empathetic, and pioneering. But it's a long road, so why take the journey with us at all? Go back, please. Because the disease hurts, refractory epilepsy hurts, the vulnerability hurts. Beyond the epilepsy, the challenges this community faces, from their cognitive impairment, the speech difficulties, the movement disorders, are formidable. And the challenging behaviours that so many experience, including our family, get harder and harder and harder to manage and cope with, because it leaves us broken. Our young people feel confused, they suffer immense anxiety and depression, they are lonely and they are suicidal. Go back, please. And you've not yet been introduced to the witches in my story. Next slide. If I'm Dorothy, the witches are my children. In constant battle between good and bad, a tug of war for interaction and attention, they're up, they're down, they're high, they're low, they're kind, they're gentle, they're angry, they're physical, frustrated, anxious, creating chaos and sabotage at the same time as sprinkling their joyful fairy dust everywhere. And where are we now? Next slide, please. I've now dual registered our charity to include SLC 6A1 Connect UK as an official name. We have a growing global presence of parent-run organisations. I liaise closely with Amber and the leadership team over here in the States, and work closely with the European families, and we've got the Spanish PAGs here today, which is great. And we're working to formalise a European alliance or network, including PAGs and families, professionals, industry, anyone interested in SLC 601 and joining us on our Yellow Brick Road journey. And we work tirelessly to network and to connect the right people with the right partners. My reason, my motivation, my everything. We have to succeed at this. And all of you in your Emerald Towers, it's with your support and your partnership and your persistence to dissect the disease and to create that magic formula that will send us all home safe and healed and happy. Thank you.